My name is Joe Furneaux, and we live at Full Bloom Farm, and my bakery is Rise Up Artisan Bread.
So how did Rise Up get started?
Well, we were invited by friends to cooperatively own this property called Full Bloom, and a couple of the owners were going to start an organic vegetable farm, which they did, and we wanted to just diversify the income, and so we decided to start a bakery, and it was a bit of a whim, and I think that Rosie had a little experience, my wife, who's baking right now, and partner, and I just loved the idea. It was really falling in love with an idea. And then once we did that, everything else just happened very easily. Like all these other doors of opportunity just opened, and then we were doing it. We were learning, I was learning, and I worked for a little bakery where we lived at the time in St. Helena, California, called the Model Bakery. And then after a year of that, we moved up here and started testing recipes here and baking in a little oven. And then we built a little cob oven, and we were baking in the cob oven and delivering our test recipes to the neighborhood mailboxes. And that was really the first couple of years. And then once this bakery was built, then we started in earnest, and we got our first accounts with the Ashland Food Co-op. And well, I think it's a beautiful way to make a living. I think I really have a lot of respect for the tradition of like artisan bread baking, and it's cool to be a part of it. Like, it feels good to be a part of it. It feels good to share that with other people, and we've been able to get to a point where we pay a living wage, pay $15 an hour to start. And so, and in the beginning, we couldn't, and it was just mostly me and Rosie with a little bit of help. And now we have 14 employees, 15 employees, and we're able to start $15 an hour. And so that actually feels good. You know, it feels good to be paying people like a respectable wage, doing something that doesn't make a ton of cash. You know, I mean, we're definitely not, we're rolling in the dough, but that's bread dough, you know? And so, yeah, it feels like right livelihood, and it's fun to do. It's fun to do with people.
How would you say like your business practices affect like the quality and flavor of your products?
Well, our business practices definitely stem from our values, and our values they have a lot to do with organic farming and local food systems. So I think the quality of the product is really reflects those values and is a high quality, and in part because of that. And then also the other value is in the name, part of the name, artisan, and that's handmade. That means, you know, each loaf has been shaped by human hands. And so those factors that I just mentioned directly correlate with the taste and everything about the bread. And then we're having fun while we're making the bread. So I think there's lots of like good vibes in the bread. I don't really know how that all translates scientifically, but I think like on the day-to-day, it makes it sustainable for us to keep doing. And it's like an enjoyable process that we're engaged in together. So I think that matters in that way. And yeah, we've paid a lot of attention to and care about what we're putting in. Like, we don't want chemicals and preservatives in our bread, so we're trying the best to use long fermentation times to create like a very nutritious and digestible product. And so the trade-off is you can't leave it on your shelf for 2 weeks and expect it not to either be stale or moldy. It actually will, because that's part of the natural process, that happens. Food will rot, if it's not injected with a bunch of chemicals. So the fact that we do not use those chemicals and preservatives results in how it tastes, and I think it tastes a lot better. We also don't use a lot of sugar. We just use a lot of natural sugars. So things aren't like, if you taste like other companies' bread, they're really sweet breads, a lot of them, but that's because they're adding a bunch of sugar, which we don't. And so, yeah, there's a more, the flavors and the taste is a more naturally derived from processes of fermentation, and then the combination of the other ingredients.
What would you say is the most difficult part of running a small bakery?
The most difficult part of running a small bakery? I think it's finding a sustainable balance of work for everybody. How much work can we do ourselves that feels good for like me as an owner or Rosie as an owner? Rosie takes on a lot. I take on a lot. But then we really want our lives to be balanced. So we ask, our employees to share the load, and then the question is like, well, how much feels good for them, and what's the right balance for them in their lives too. So I think that's pretty tricky, figuring that out. There's certain systems, that took a lot of work to get in place. So I think there's the building, the structures and the containers and the systems that help the bakery run kind of fluidly. But now it's really like, okay, on the ground and on the day-to-day, like how do we help people feel happy in the workplace and happy with work? Yeah, how do we achieve the work-life balance?
What are your most popular products?
The most popular product is the Little Applegate sourdough. A lot of people really also love the sprouted multigrain. They're both sliced breads. One's predominantly white bread flour and Little Applegate sourdough and sour, and the other is the yeasted whole wheat bread with a bunch of seeds in it. And we've been baking both of those since the beginning. Yeah, I think people like them because they're really good. They taste great, and then they're conveniently sliced in like sandwich bread type items. And then at farmers market, you see people a little more interested in the hearth loaves and the variety that we offer in terms of the rustic bread. So then the rustic levain comes plain, or apricot walnut, or chocolate cherry, or plain walnut, or fig, or chili cheddar, or rye with coriander and caraway. So it's a cool dough because it can be infused with all these different ingredients that make it a different bread based on the same dough. So in a sense, like it's a really popular bread because it's the original rustic plus all those other ones too. Yeah. I think it was really born out of Zen. Rosie and I met at a Zen center, Green Gulch Farm in the Bay Area, and we lived there for multiple years, like at least 3 years each, and fell in love there. And she learned to bake bread there, and I learned the first bread I ever baked was with Ed Brown, who put out the Tassajara bread book. And I would say that, to make a long story short, Rise Up was born out of Zen.
Do you enjoy being able to run a business and a bakery with your partner more so? Because we're meeting like farmers who have partnerships.
Yeah.
And it's like an interesting dynamic because you have the business dynamic.
Yeah.
And then like, do you find it more enjoyable?
More enjoyable. Well, I don't have a contrast, you know. I've only I never thought I would run a business.
Okay.
So I ended up moving from anarchy to business owner. So anyway, with respect to the question, I feel incredibly fortunate that Rosie is so good at so many things, and I feel incredibly supported by her and her devotion to this business and the work that she does, and I've seen her competence grow in all of the areas that she's focused on over the years, and then I think I've done the same. So we have different skill sets and tend to complement each other really well. Like, she does all the bookkeeping, a ton of the ordering. She's right now in there mixing. She does the scheduling. She does lots and lots of things. And you know, I do the baking, and I do a lot of people management, and I do some ordering and maintenance of vehicles and different things. And we both do lots of subbing. And so anyway, we've found ways over the years to support each other, and that has come to work very well. Joe Furneaux, and my business is Rise Up Artisan Bread, co-owned and run with Rose Demeen. And thanks. Very good. Okay, come on in. Kitchen, cleaning area, and you know, we'll be able to cook for employees and stuff. Little walk in. Everything's micro.
That's fantastic.
Rosie.
Hi.
The cool thing is that these peeled, you want to just to the side a little. Let's- This is what this is why I fell in love with artisan bread baking.
Okay.
Is you get these peels, you shuffle bread in and out of the oven on these peels. It's old school, you know? Like people have been doing it for 2,000 years.
How many loaves do you bake at a time?
We bake. Good question. Like about 1,000 loaves during the summer on our bake nights.
Oh.
And so we fit 150 in here at a time. So we'll go through like six full rounds, 7 full rounds of loading and unloading this little lazy season.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's really, and so this is a great ergonomic development for the baker. Because when I first learned in a brick oven, I had to load it from left to right, back to front, and then I had to get it to the first bread I loaded in the very back by moving all the other bread around with it. It's shitty. It's the old way. And so then in Madrid or Barcelona, Spain, Juan Yopi developed this guy to spin. And so now we can get in and out of the oven, bread in and out quickly and easily. I love bread peels. Bread peels are the coolest. And then this mixer is also super cool. It's like our R2D2.
Oh man, that's a mega mixer.
So here now, if you want to take a look,
I don't want to get your
it's a little pre-ferment happening. You can start it up, ferment.
How many pounds of dough are in there right now?
We do it in kilos, but I could probably really quickly figure that out. My recipe. So this is just part of a dough. So like it's a pre-ferment that's gonna rise all day, and then we'll mix the final dough by adding some seeds and more flour and water. And then so it'll eventually become 160 loaves for tonight, multi-grain.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what's going on with that? Why is the butter in that there?
That's our croissant.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's called lamination, and so this is the beginning, like the very first fold when the butter gets folded in, and then it gets rolled out, and then it'll get folded again. The back of the oven.
Got
yeah.
it.
And so if I open that flue, and then I don't know if you can shoot in here. There's no fire in here right now, but this is the firebox. So it's a wood-fired oven. And,
Oh, that is nice.
yeah.
So is the oven itself still temperature?